welcome to Royally Unfiltered, the show that takes you behind palace gates like never before. This is where tradition meets truth and nothing is off limits. I have a very special panel this week helping me tackle all the biggest headlines. Authors and royal commentators, Charles, Ray, and Duncan Larcombe. But Duncan, you were saying before I so rudely cut you off and said save it for the screen that Charles helped you get into the royal reporting world.
Oh, massively. When I joined The Sun back in 2001, Charlie was the royal editor and he was a legend. And he took me under his wing because he's just big softy like that. And I remember him telling me a very funny story about being interviewed. And he was on American television and it was live. And he was asked a question about what the Queen's favourite breakfast was. And so he absolutely knowledgeably said it was I think I've got this right, an egg, baked beans and toast. And then they came off air and the producer was saying what a wonderful answer that was, what an insight, incredible. And I remember Charlie telling me, he said, well, I don't know what she has, but if you ask me a stupid question like that on air, I'll give you a stupid answer. But I'm sure he won't do that today. But
no.
Really lovely to see you, Charlie.
And you, matey, and you. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Did we ever find out, Charles? Because didn't a staff member from the Sun actually get a job in the palace in Buckingham Palace? And we found out that the Queen did eat her breakfast in Tupperware. We did kind of find out what the Queen's favorite breakfast was, I think.
To be fair, much in all as I would like the Sun to take credit for this, he actually was working at that time for the Daily Mirror, our biggest rival. And he got a job as a valet, which just goes to show the fantastic screening process that there is at Buckingham Palace. I mean, he was there for a few weeks and he came up with some great stuff. There's no doubt about it. It got followed everywhere. Yes, that was a guy called Ryan Parry, who now does work for the Sun up north somewhere.
Oh, that's interesting. I remember that the Bush administration, I believe, was visiting the White House at the time too. So it almost elevated the scandal that somebody had passed a security check and had access to like the world's most powerful leader on top of the British royal family. So what a thrill. I am sure that was fun to cover. We have a lot to cover this week. Duncan, I'll start with you. King Charles visits Fortnum and Mason. Mason. I passed by there multiple times last week because I couldn't believe how great their Christmas display was. It's like a calendar, and it's bright red and it's just absolutely beautiful at night. So the king visited their kitchens to mark the second anniversary of his Coronation Food Project. Duncan, in the last 2 years, 11 million extra portions of food have been delivered nationwide. Last year alone, that amounted to the equivalent of 10,200 meals at least. This is likely an initiative that King Charles is very, very proud of.
Well, he should be. Isn't that incredible? I mean, incredible. Fortnum and Mason, I mean, that's really posh food when it comes to it. If you want to buy a Fortnum and Mason Christmas hamper, it'll cost you an absolute fortune.
Oh, wow.
But you know, what a great idea. And, you know, King Charles had his critics over the years, but actually sometimes he has these really, really good ideas and he makes them work and he throws his enthusiasm into them. And this is probably a really good example of that. I mean, you know, he's not there just to be the king and that's it. He wants to make differences to people's lives. And I think this is a good example of how he's achieved exactly that.
I agree with you. Charles, I saw one of my friends comment under, because Fortnum and Mason also posted a video of the king greeting people inside the shopping center. And I saw one of my British friends go, oh my God, now the Americans are going to assume that you can just run into the king while you're Christmas shopping in London. It is a unique experience to see the king out and about in that environment, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is the. I mean, Duncan's absolutely right. This is the sort of thing that the king does. I mean, he's spent 77 years of his life wanting to save things. You know, he wants to save the planet. He wants to save the environment, and it's only right that he looks at a situation where we are in 2025, where we have got a lot of people who've got to rely on what I would call soup kitchens throughout the country. And again, in my view, I'm starting to be a bit political. Where, in my view, the government is not doing enough for these people. So it's great these sort of initiatives that happen up and down the country, and the fact that the king himself is leading a special project like this. You know, I think it is marvelous. And you know, fancy turning up at one of the places, or you know, you're suddenly lucky enough to get a Fortnum and Mason's, you know, a bag of goodies. I mean, it must be all your Christmases at one time. I'm not trying to make light of this because it's a
No.
very delicate subject, this sort of thing. But it's great that the king is taking a lead in this sort of stuff. And all the people who sort of say, oh, well, he's got been, you know, he's got 14 palaces and all this sort of stuff and chefs and everything else. But he's the man behind all this, you know, to project it. So, you know, all the best to him on that. Yeah,
Mm.
no problem on that.
Agreed. I love just seeing him engaging with the people that gathered outside once they realized he was
Yeah.
there, and then inside, everybody fawning over them. He said, I'm probably ruining your shopping experience. No, you're not. This is the greatest photo I've ever taken in London. You next to, you know, a nice pair of feather trousers. That's exactly what I'm going to post on Instagram today. Let's move on to another working royal that we admire immensely. It was so exciting, Duncan, to see Catherine speak on Tuesday, the Princess of Wales delivering her first major address in 2 years. And since we found out about her cancer diagnosis, this was at the UK Future Workforce Summit. And she talked about the importance of weaving dignity and tenderness into business practices for the purpose of a happier, healthier society. She says a loving home ultimately teaches us how to love and how to care, but every environment has the potential to shape our hearts. And she, you know, I think that this is in some way associated with her early years project, and how if you have a healthy environment at work, then you take that home and your children get to experience that privately as well. Catherine has worked very hard at her courage and bravery on a stage, but she does, in my opinion, make it look effortless. Duncan, what is your opinion when you watch her on a podium talking?
Well, I mean, in specific reference to this speech that she made, I'd have to start by saying, hey, it's great to see her back doing this stuff. It's a great sign. And she's a very popular royal. I think the cancer thing has just elevated her popularity. But, you know, part of me, if I can be controversial for a minute, Kinsey, if you won't cut me off, you might do. It's the kind of wishy-washy stuff that if Meghan had said,
oh,
we'd be criticizing her.
Off with your head, Duncan. We're putting you in the tower.
I told you you'd tell me off. I told you.
No, finish your point, because it's an interesting point.
But you know, I mean, look, it's great to hear Kate. Great to hear what I said. I've read through her quotes. I don't understand a word of it, if I'm honest. It's all wishy-washy speak to me. But I'm just drawing that parallel where if Meghan came out with something that was vague and didn't, well, I don't really think it meant anything, I think we'd all be jumping down Meghan's throat. So I caveat that out. It's great to see the Princess of Wales out, hearing her voice again. It's fantastic. It'll do a lot of good. But if I'm honest, for what she said, I didn't really understand a lot of it.
But Charles, if you look at Catherine's work in the Early Years Project, she does have multiple research papers, and she puts together statistics and analytics, and she tries to show us why she feels the way she does about, you know, she actually, I think, every year creates multiple surveys that go out to the country where they try to get a better understanding of why children grow up the way they do and how they can better facilitate, you know, a child's upbringing. So at least with Catherine, we know that there's a library that backs up what she's trying to say, or am I just desperate? Am I reaching?
I think you are a little bit. I mean, I have to say, Duncan is right. This is not the greatest speech that Catherine has ever made, to be perfectly honest. And part of me agrees with Duncan. If this was Meghan who was making this speech, we would be, heavily criticizing her. But it is Catherine. And I think what she's trying to say here, the message. I mean, like Duncan, I've read it 2 or 3 times, and part of me says, well, what is she on about here? But I think what does come through is that when she talks about dignity and tenderness, 2 words that both Duncan and I never realized when we both worked for the Sun. Uh, uh, this is something that she wants to bring into business on the basis that if you have dignity and tenderness at work, then things are going to be a lot better at home. I understand that bit, but the reality is that for many companies, bosses don't use dignity and tenderness. Some of them use bullying tactics and this sort of stuff. So she's making a plea for this to stop. That bit I understand. The rest of it, nah, it's just that sort of speech. Great to see her back in the business. I mean, we got 2 glimpses over this week. I know we're going to talk about the other one. So it's whenever she's around, she is herself now a triple A celebrity. There is no question about that. So whenever she's out and about, she looks fantastic. Everybody comments on the outfits she wears, what her hair is like, and what she says is also a main focus. It makes headlines and it sells papers and magazines, just like her mother-in-law did.
Duncan, you're a veteran. You're a veteran royal commentator, royal correspondent. What advice would you give her to help her? Because she sat in a room with a team and they understood that message. There was a disconnect in the translation between that room and the public or the media. So, what advice do you think you would give Catherine and her team to ensure that her message comes across clearly and ensure that the message is a realistic one?
Well, I think authenticity lies at the heart of everything that she and her husband William do. They are loved by the public, and as long as they're being authentic and genuine, I think the public will ride with that. I remember covering Kate back in 2005 when she was a royal girlfriend. She's a queen in waiting, and I think we're very lucky to have her. She's really never put a foot wrong, and she's spot on. So I don't think some advice from a dusty old royal editor would give her much help at all. It's not needed. She is brilliant, and it's frankly great to see her back speaking, great out in public after a cancer battle where it doesn't matter how bad your cancer is. If a doctor looks you in the eye and says you've got cancer, my goodness me, I can't imagine how much fear that puts through your body. So I think, we just have to celebrate the fact that William has clearly married very, very well. And Kate is somebody who will one day make a wonderful queen.
Here's my last plea to you, Charles. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't let it go. What if Catherine is just trying to connect the love theme for her Christmas Carol concert? We talked last week, I believe, about how there's no method to the madness with Meghan, and how when it comes to the Wales family, they're in sync and there's always a bigger goal. And it feels like everything they do is connected to something else or helps to build towards a bigger, something more meaningful. What if this love theme is to complement the Christmas Carol concert, which is about love in all forms? Or what if she's saying, if you're at work, it affects what's going on at home, Meghan Markle bully allegations?
I don't see a connection between this speech and her Christmas. I don't think her Christmas Carol concert needs to have a promotion beforehand. Needs to have an advert beforehand. I think the Christmas Carol concert stands on its own. It is fantastic. It's really, really great. And she's devised that, and she's got the right people in to help her, get that carol concert going and everything else. If the kids turn up, all the better. If William comes, it's going to be a nice family atmosphere. And I don't think the speech that she made about dignity and tenderness should be linked with that. It's outstanding.
You have no comment about Meghan Markle being a bully at work?
Oh, well, I didn't realize we were going to go on to that. I mean, the jury is still out on her being a bully. We still don't have any official comment from the palace on that investigation that went on, and clearly that's been brushed under the carpet because I don't think they wanted to
stir the pot.
Well, if there had been no bullying allegations, they would have said there were no bullying allegations, but they haven't said anything. They've just swept it under the carpet, and so we're left with very much like Prince Andrew. I gave £12 million to a woman I've never met. It's the same with Meghan. She is guilty in all, but proof of bullying. There's a number of people who left her. She's not the first royal to have bullied staff and bullied other people, and she won't be the last.
Yes, so she does deny the allegations, but
yes,
as you say, guilt in the court of public opinion based on all of the reports. You mentioned Catherine's second appearance this week, and it is nice. They promised us a gradual entry back into royal life. I mean, it took almost a year, but here we are, and we're so grateful for it. They made their first red carpet appearance in 2 years, the Prince and Princess of Wales, since that's been since really Catherine announced her cancer and the holiday season back in, what was that, 2022, 2024, but they attended the annual Royal Variety performance at Royal Albert Hall on Wednesday. And my favorite pictures to come from this, Duncan, are the pictures of William and Catherine with Paddington Bear. Visually, it was so great to see them. Also, they're dressed so chic, and there's a difference between Catherine at an event with dignitaries and having to do the gowns and the crowns. But when she is out in kind of a pop culture capacity and you see her, she looks very glamorous, but more relatable. You just realize that she is kind of a knockout. I mean, she is a knockout. I don't know why I said kind of. She's a stunning woman.
I think you're absolutely right, Kinsey. I mean, we're talking about rock and roll royals. Sorry, there's a couple there whose opinions ratings are so high. It's hard to think what they could possibly do that would destroy the popularity they have. Ironically, Harry and Meghan doing what they did and leaving the royal fold has done nothing but benefit Kate and William. They're seen as the absolute future of the royal family, and I think that the general view is from the public, and certainly in this country, is they're good eggs. They're doing it. So I think when we see them out, there has been a period where we haven't seen them because of Kate's cancer diagnosis. But now they've come out the other side of it. I think they've got more authenticity, and they have certainly got more popularity. So it's a bit like the Midas touch. And ironically, Harry used to have the Midas touch.
Yeah.
But now they do. And that's probably really good for the future of the British royal family.
It is. Charles, we've seen so much of Prince William lately. Rio, COP30, we just saw him with Paddington Bear. How do you think he's handled his responsibilities since Kate's remission? Do you feel like we've seen more of him? He looks more confident. He looks more comfortable. How are you judging him based on the last year?
Well, I think William's done brilliantly over this scenario with the fact of Catherine's cancer and his father's cancer and everything else. He's dealt with it. And this is 2 fingers up to the critics, to be perfectly honest, who keep on complaining that he doesn't work hard enough. Yeah. what do they expect the guy to do? You know, he's got a wife who's suffering from cancer, his father's suffering from cancer, you
Three
know,
small children.
3 small children, and what's he supposed to do? Leave them alone and go off and cut a ribbon somewhere? You know, forgive me for saying this, but a meaningless ribbon somewhere. You know, I think he's performed very, very well, and we're seeing quite a bit of him. I have to say that I feel sorry for them having to go to the Royal Variety performance.
Really? I thought that that was kind of a fun night. I thought that they kind of would. No, not at all.
No, well, I mean, for me, it's not a fun night. There are some really second-rate acts that are there, and we'll get to see it. I think.
Paddington Bear was
No,
there.
no, 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 no. That was brilliant. That
Okay.
that was superb. And the one thing that I liked as well is that when the car drew up just before they got out, William was seen to air kiss Catherine's hand. Now, I thought that was a really nice move
Oh my
on
gosh, my
his part.
ovaries just exploded, Charles Ray.
Careful, Kinsey. Uh, uh, so I thought that was a really nice bit. But he's it's a job that they've got to do. I always think that they got lumbered with that job, taking it on from previous royals who had to do it. But it is a showbiz night, and we see them there. They're great looking together. I think they've both got matching velvet outfits on and everything else. So it's great to see them both out and about. Yeah, I mean
It
it's
is.
fantastic.
All right. Well, if you're watching, that's the highlight of our chat. Now we're going to transition into Meghan Markle and Prince Harry talk.
It's downhill all the way from here.
Hey, Unfiltered fam, some breaking news. Beam's cyber sale is now live for our listeners, and it's their best offer of the year, but only for 48 hours. Right now, friends of the show get up to 50% off, and with my code Kinsey, you can grab Dream for just $32.50. That breaks down to only $1.08 per night for the best sleep of your life. Go to shopbeam.com/Kinsey, use my code Kinsey, and don't miss out. This is the lowest price Dream has ever been sold anywhere and will likely sell out quickly. Dream is packed with ingredients your body actually needs to sleep: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, and yes, even melatonin, but dosed intelligently, not like the drugstore garbage that knocks you out and leaves you groggy. So now's the time. Beam is giving our community the ultimate royal discount. Go to shopbeam.com/Kinsey, use code Kinsey, and get up to 50% off during Beam's cyber sale. You can grab Dream for just $32.50, but here's the catch: Dream is only available at this price until it sells out. And can I just tell you, their cinnamon cocoa flavor is like Christmas in a cup. Okay, you're welcome. So seriously, think about it. How much would you pay for a truly great night of sleep? With Beam's cyber price, it's just $1.08 per night. I did ask you both to take one for the team and watch Meghan Markle's new Netflix trailer for me. Duncan, did you do it?
I did.
Meghan,
I really, 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 really want to love Meghan. When I first heard about her, I wrote some wonderful things about her,
yeah.
contrary to what the world thinks in terms of the way the British press reacted. Utter fiction from her view. We welcomed her as the Markle Sparkle and this breath of fresh air. But I can't help it. It churns my stomach. I'm sorry. It's just this whole talk of, this being a time of year to, I can't remember how she phrased it, but
it was like something about unity and being with the ones you love or something. And you're like,
and reach out to the people that you love. I mean, seriously,
who's going to tell her? Like, your dad would love for you to reach out to you.
Yeah, or her half siblings, or maybe Harry's entire family. That might be good.
Yeah.
Reach out to them. Oh, I'm sorry, Kinsey, I'm going to say it. It made me feel sick to the stomach. It's just, what a load of codswallop.
And Charles, December 3rd, after watching that trailer, will you be in place with your Netflix account and your popcorn and your Christmas ornaments and your fireplace and your hot cocoa? Are you going to be in position to experience the Meghan Markle holiday extravaganza?
I'd rather take my eyes out with a hot poker, to be perfectly honest. I like Duncan watched this, and I watched it twice because I couldn't believe what I was watching the first time. Right? You know, it was just sugary sweet schmaltz, designed to sort of, you know, as an advertisement for her as ever show. As she talk, as Duncan has just said, and I agree with him, she talks about love and getting together with the people that you love and everything else. Well, there's a guy sitting in you know, in Asia somewhere, who is her father, who's still not you know,
At
allowed
his
back into
grandchildren.
with see his grandchildren. We've got another granddad back in the UK who's clearly
Suffering from cancer.
suffering from cancer and not allowed to see his grandchildren again. I mean, this girl, everything is behind everything that she does. There is a strategy. It's her people, or she is saying, "This is me. Look at me. Am I not fantastic?" and everything else. And I guarantee that, you know, on a day that Catherine's Carol concert comes out, that she'll be putting out something as well, or Harry will be putting out something as well, maybe the day before or the day
Even
after.
if it's just on Instagram, she started doing
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
too.
yeah. It'll be something to try and disrupt is not the right word because I don't think anything can disrupt it, but it'll be just to sort of remind her of, you know, I'm still here. I'm still doing my old stuff and everything else, you know. And I know we're talking about it later, but this goes along with an interview that she's given to Harper's Bazaar. Now I've read that, and I wish I hadn't because,
Yeah.
you know, there's no hard questions. It's a very soft interview. It's all about Meghan, and there was one bit where they're meeting somewhere
In New
uh,
York.
in New York, and the house manager announces the Duchess of Sussex has arrived. There's only one other person in the room, and that's the interviewer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well,
Absolutely.
also we at the very beginning of that interview, when Meghan is rolling up to, it seems like a field, an archaeological field trip or something, like dinosaur bones. They didn't understand what they were. Meghan rolls up in a golf cart and she is announced as the Duchess. The Duchess of Sussex is here. So this is clearly something that she insists on happening regularly.
And
The title being utilized.
and if you notice, she comes up and says, "I've got to have the Duchess of Sussex." When Catherine turns up and meets similar young people and everything else, it's "Hello, I'm Catherine."
And
You know,
if you look at signed letters from Catherine when she's
sure.
thanking people for charity work, thanking people for donations,
Yeah,
thanking people for their kind wishes, it just says Catherine.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Meghan
Sadly
has
as
the
well,
Duchess of Sussex.
sadly as well, when Princess Diana used to sign her letters, famously just Diana.
Yeah,
Meghan, if
that's
Meghan
exactly.
needs to know that because the further she tries to crawl into the skin of Diana and convince us all that she's the second coming, she needs little details like that. Duncan, let's talk about that article. I was going to say to you that that trailer seemed delusional because I was building this rundown as these two things were happening. And then the article comes out, and I'm like, wait, actually, this is the definition of delusional. The author brings up the Spotify deal as if it's a coup without mentioning that this deal is terminated. This author does not acknowledge that Netflix is in a weird place. Like, is she going to continue her relationship with Netflix or not? But mentions that she got this deal with Netflix as if this is a win for Meghan. Doesn't give us the status on Meghan's Limonada deal, her Limonada podcast deal. The author negates to mention the fact that Meghan no longer talks to any members of her family while she lovingly reinvents her past about a grandmother that she used to make preserves with. Where
Mm.
has that story been for the last year as she's been shilling jam? It makes no sense. What was your reaction to that article?
Well, you rewind a couple of maybe 4 or 5 years where Harry and Meghan pretty much announced or let it be known that they would do interviews with media, but only ones on their terms, only their
Grassroots.
friends, you know.
Yeah.
And this is really, I would argue, the product of that, where you've got sycophantic journalists writing and allowing their bile to spill out. You know, I mean, why aren't they saying, well, why don't you speak to your father? Why is Harry estranged from his whole family? If you had a chance to interview them and you were a proper journalist, you'd actually want to know those answers. And I think I see stuff like this, and I'm sure they're very good reporters, very good at what they do, very good publications. But as an ex-royal editor, I just think, oh, that is weak. That is rubbish.
I think I'd like both of your opinions on this because I agree with you that it's kissing her butt. Like, tell us what she had for dinner. Like, it's kissing her butt so much. But there are two paragraphs where I did wonder, similar to the cut, where this woman was making some like very subtle digs at Meghan. The story about being in the brownstone in New York and Meghan insisting on being called the Duchess of Sussex, like the author acknowledges that it's strange because they are the only two people there. And then this line, Meghan is remarkably at ease with the surrealism of global celebrity. In fact, she seems to enjoy it. I don't think that's a positive reflection on her either. So do you think that maybe the author could have been making subtle digs? And if Meghan's team had any say over the final product, which is typically, I do think, something that they try to get, would they have missed such terrible paragraphs?
Do you know, if I'm honest, what I think happened, and I might be wrong, but I think what happened was it was just so blindingly obvious to the person doing the interview that they wanted to point out, you know, she's announced and it's just me in the room. I think I might be wrong. I might well be wrong. I might be misjudging Meghan, but the entourage around her, the way that Meghan behaves, she is not behaving like a royal. She's behaving like a celebrity. Mm-hmm. The reason she's a celebrity is because she married a royal. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't follow, you know, it doesn't.
And the article doesn't acknowledge that either, Duncan. The article tries to tell us that she is in this position because she was on Suits. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Precisely. And I used to be on Deal or No Deal. If Meghan was on her third Oscar, and she was flying high, and she had this guy Harry who happened to be a prince. Wow, that's great. You know, we're just great and celebrity-like. Fine. But let's not forget who pulled the other out of the anonymity, really. I mean, Meghan Markle was not a household name. As soon as she started dating Harry, she became a household name all over the world.
Yes.
And maybe she's forgotten that. But I mean, I don't want to be nasty about her. I just think
it's okay.
It's common sense. It's just common sense, you know?
But I agree with Duncan. I would love to sit in front of Meghan and grill her, really grill her without any restrictions and everything else. And I suspect, like quite a few celebrities, that when Harper's were granted the interview, there was a list of, here's the things we can talk about, here's the things that we cannot talk about. And on that list of things we can't talk about are all the things that we really want to know about. That's it. But she's getting soft interviews all the time, and it's all about her own self-promotion.
It reminded me of the Vanity Fair piece that came out in February of 2025, where the author says that someone from Meghan's camp had been shopping to publishers a post-divorce book, trying to see how much money Meghan could get for something like that. And it was so interesting to me at the time that the Sussexes, who love to fight the media, who love to come out and say that's not true and sue, not only did not acknowledge that piece at all, and the way that they went after the Hollywood Reporter by planting an Us Weekly story about how great of a boss Meghan was. They didn't acknowledge the divorce book story at all, and they didn't attempt to sue. So whenever I read those things that make me a little uncomfortable, I'm reminded of that Vanity Fair piece that said that someone from her camp was shopping this post-divorce book. Charles, what did you think when you read the part about Meghan receiving a cappuccino with her face in the foam and her taking a picture of it? Because I was like, oh my God. This is so embarrassing. Have your person go back and take a picture of it when you're done with the meal. This is at the end of the meal. But for Meghan to disrupt the interview to take the picture was kind of like, oh God, this is exactly what I expect from you.
They make those drinks, with all the flowers and maple leaves and everything else or whatever, with a cast on, put it on top, and then they pour the liquid over, or the brown sugary stuff over, and that's what makes the picture. So clearly someone has developed a Meghan Markle face thing for coffee. Well, if I saw a coffee with Meghan Markle's name on, I'd be throwing it back at them, to be perfectly honest.
You know what? Nothing irritates my bowels like a Meghan Markle coffee. So I think that is nothing but appropriate. Duncan, did anything else stand out to you? Like, I've seen some people say that she acknowledges mistakes. I didn't feel that way. She says there's no such thing as perfect. I too get to make mistakes. There's also not a lot of fun in trying to be perfect, says the woman that wears white while making the one skillet pasta on her reality television show. To me, that wasn't her admitting to mistakes. To me, that was her being defiant, saying, I get to make mistakes if I want to.
I mean, I risk stating the blindingly obvious here, but when I read about her, not trying to be perfect and blah, 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 and then you actually watch the trailer and you see effectively as close as you could get to perfection in terms of preparing Christmas, where all these little things and they're all there and it's all about love and it's all about our guests. That is as close as you can possibly get to perfection.
Yeah.
And it's total nonsense. We all know what Christmas is like. The family come round, your uncle gets drunk, and it all goes
Imagine
wrong
a trailer where like something catches on fire in the kitchen and you get Meghan's sincere reaction to, the gingerbread house is on fire. I would watch that show.
Absolutely. I want the Meghan Markle show where she's just burnt the turkey to a crisp. The mother-in-law's come in drunk, although, of course, it wouldn't be the mother-in-law, but just chaos, total chaos. People don't, I think, resonate with that. They certainly don't in the UK. They might in California. I don't know. But if you're going to, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't.
Different cultures. But there's nothing in that makes me think, oh, actually, yeah, Meghan's all right. No, she's promoting herself ruthlessly and in a false, ridiculous way where she doesn't speak to not half her family, most of her family. In fact, possibly all her family apart from her mum. And since they've been together, Harry has been estranged from most of his family, or possibly all of his family. Mm-hmm. And that, surely the spirit of Christmas is not about tying nice little bows on some piece of hacienda or whatever. It's about family. It's about relationships. If your relationships are not good, don't lecture the rest of us.
That's so good. Charles, I have two questions for you, and sorry for doing this to you, but I'm afraid I'll forget them. The first one is, do you think it bothers Netflix at all that they've given her this platform and there's no mention of the Christmas special in this article that's released around the Christmas special? I feel like that was a huge missed opportunity. And second, the Procter and Gamble story again. The story Vanity Fair refused to print because they couldn't source it about Meghan and the soap. The story Tom Bauer says is a lie because he couldn't source it. So my two questions are, do you think Netflix is not impressed? Meghan's hanging with Jeff Bezos and in a new Amazon MGM film. That's a cameo she could have made at Netflix. And what is your reaction to another mention of the freaking soap story?
Well, I think it was a mistake not to mention the Christmas special in Harper's, because that's the next big thing for her that's coming up, and obviously Netflix would be hoping that the ratings on that will be sky high. It's one of their flagship Meghan and Harry products. I think it's about the only one that's left anyway. And I mean, the Procter and Gamble story, the fact that no one has been able to substantiate it, it was brought up initially. I remember it happening that she's supposed to have written to Procter and Gamble to get them to change something, to make it much more pleasant.
She said the commercial was sexist, that it was women all
Sexist,
over the
that's right.
world.
Yeah. So she's trying to get the alleged sexism out of it. But it's interesting that and Tom Bower's no slouch, that various reporters have tried to stand that story up, and not one of them have managed to do it. So there again, we've now got another unverified story about how great she is, fighting the good cause for women and girls everywhere, but we don't actually have any proof that she actually ever did. And it's just one of those sort of things that's just going to lie there in the background, and every so often it'll be brought back out again. But it's not going to harm her because it's happened so long ago.
And Duncan, any irony over the fact that Meghan continues to bring up this soap story about how it's sexist to assume women are in the kitchen, and then she releases 3 different parts of a Netflix series where she's in a kitchen?
In a kitchen, yeah, yeah. I mean, why isn't she there with a baseball bat watching her husband do the cooking? I mean,
that's a visual.
Well, it might be more honest, but let's see. I don't know. I mean, she projects an image that, if I'm honest, I've seen no evidence of her actually being the same person. And it worries me intensely, because for me, I think I don't know this for a fact, but from what I've watched, and I've watched hard, is that I think she's in it for the money, she's in it for herself. And I know Prince Harry of old, and he does not want fame and fortune. He was born with it. And that's all I can really say on that with Meghan.
Let's stay with you because, like you said, you do know Prince Harry. You watched him grow up. He's been announced as a headline keynote speaker at an event in Canada. This is the second time he's been in Canada in the last few weeks. And there was just a little bit of controversy over his previous trip around Remembrance Day, because his team told the media that they gave a courtesy notification to the palace that Harry was going. And the palace said, oh, no, you didn't. And it's strange for me to see Harry doing royal like engagements in countries that the king is still the king, He will be taking, this is though just sheer commercial, this particular event that's coming up. He is taking the stage at a conference for real estate personalities, and he's going to be talking about service and leadership. It's dubbed a political affairs conference where leaders, political pundits, and powerful insiders discuss real estate policy, housing supply, and the Canadian economy. This is happening at a Hilton in Toronto, and Harry's been announced as the speaker. This is how they describe him: a humanitarian, mental health advocate, environmentalist, and military combat veteran. His work is dedicated to creating positive and lasting change for communities and the planet, particularly in advancing conversations around resilience and healing. That is not what Spare was to me, okay? A lot of Todger talk. And it says, no, he won't be talking about real estate. Prince Harry will bring a powerful message of service and leadership to the powerhouse stage. Trust us, you're not going to miss this one. I mean, I know it's not pay to play because, well, it's pay to play. I know it's not cash for access because what does Harry have cash, or what does Harry have access to these days? But it feels a little slimy that for the right price, you can get Prince Harry in a Toronto Hilton to shake hands with a bunch of people.
You can dress it up in that way that you've literally just listed. But Prince Harry going to do a real estate conference, I mean, for goodness sake, is there nothing he won't do for a bit of money? He's a royal for sale. Sorry. And it breaks my heart to say that, because he used to be the box office royal after his grandmother. But he's now reduced to a royal for sale. And yeah, we look forward to seeing him talking about the woodcutters conference next week.
Woodcutters.
Well, I can't think of anything more ridiculous. Everyone hates estate agents. The only person in the world that doesn't hate estate agents as much as they hate journalists is Prince Harry. we occupy the same space in the gutter. I mean, it's just mind-numbing that he would have to do that, and he went to America to avoid having to do exactly this sort of thing. And now he's doing it, presumably for lots and lots of money. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit embarrassing.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about today's sponsor. If you haven't heard of beef tallow before, it's simply rendered beef fat. And before you think, wait, beef fat in skincare, stay with me, okay? Beef tallow is actually packed with skin-loving nutrients and fatty acids that mimic your skin's natural barrier. That means it helps keep your skin hydrated, smooth, and calm without all the toxic synthetic stuff and fillers in most moisturizers. And that's exactly what Amalo is built around. They've taken this old school, time-tested ingredient, something our ancestors used for generations as a natural moisturizer and healer, and brought it back in the cleanest, most thoughtful way possible. Amalo is a small family-owned business making everything right here in the US. Each batch is handmade with grass-fed, grass-finished beef tallow and organic essential oils. No unnecessary additives, just pure, effective skincare that works with your skin, not against it. And honestly, that's what makes Amalo so great. And it's all about just simplifying your skincare routine, getting back to basics, using ingredients your skin already understands. It's clean, it's natural, and it actually works. So if you're ready to make the switch, head to amalo.com/Kinsey and use code Kinsey15 for 15% off your order. Thanks for watching. I think in the same Vanity Fair piece, there was a breakdown of Harry and Meghan's relationship. And they said that Harry was completely content with Meghan being the ambitious one and the money maker. And he would really love to just focus on his charity initiatives and growing Invictus and kind of half in, half out royal life without any support from the royal family, but continuing to do the philanthropy that he knew he was good at. When you see his name being pushed out on a Facebook ad for a real estate conference, it does make you question whether or not Meghan's business side is as financially significant or strong as it would need to be for Harry really to be able to just pursue the philanthropy aspect of his
Kinsey, before Charlie answers that, can I just make this one point?
Yeah.
I cannot wait to hear what he's about to say.
It better be good. No pressure.
No pressure at all. I mean, Duncan has spoken very, very well on this, and I agree with him. I mean, this guy is now turning up to the opening of an envelope. He really, it's ridiculous. He's now going to talk about service and leadership. Now, where he had service and leadership was when he was younger in the forces, doing royal tours, royal duties. That's service and leadership. What he's doing now is not service and leadership. He has now become, as Duncan says, he is now become a third-rate royal that is just doing anything he can to get out of the house, to get out of the kitchen, because, I mean, it was ridiculous where he was in the kitchen pretending to stir a bowl at that sort of thing. Is that what he's going to tell the real estate conference? I don't, it's not something that I would be really interested in doing. If I was over there, I'd turn up just because I would like to see what is going to happen, how he's going to deal with this, and deal with the topics that they're supposed to be discussing. What's he going to do next? Is he going to go to some WI meeting, some Women's Institute meeting, and say, oh, look, I help Meghan in the kitchen. I stir things. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Charles, what is one story that Duncan brought when you guys were working together, or presented you when you guys were working together, where you were like, yeah, you're pretty good at this? Do you remember any of those?
Well, the one that I do remember is I was then freelance and Duncan was the royal correspondent, and they had a phone call from a guy who said he was an ex-soldier, and he was one of the funeral bearers. He was one of the hearse bearers for Princess Diana.
Mm.
And Duncan rang me and asked me, would you go down and check this guy out, see if he's genuine, see if he's got any background and ever. And as it turned out, it was a good story. It was a very, very good story. Genuine ex-soldier, picked as one of the, I think it was 6 funeral bearers to carry the coffin. And I sent all the stuff to Duncan, and it was used in the paper, and subsequently used in, I think it was one of the magazines like Hello or something. I can't remember, but that was one of the ones that we worked on. But I have to sort of say, Duncan's been very kind about me, but you've got to remember that when I finished doing Royals, someone else had taken over. So it's very, very difficult, to sort of not poke your nose in. But
Mhm.
I was very conscious that, me poking my nose in, I think there was one guy before you, was it Paul something, Paul Thompson that did it.
Paul
So I was
Thompson.
very conscious about not poking my nose in. So when these guys were doing the job, uh, part of me said, God, I've got to get in, I've got to do this, but I can't
Yeah.
because they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
They were great royal correspondents. All of them are. And people sort of say, oh, you just sit in the office and you just make things up. No, no, no. You've actually go out, you actually meet people. And, when you meet, um, okay, it's all right meeting members of the royal family, you get the opportunity, but the chats you can have with them, it's limited. So you've got to meet the people who they talk to. And I've always maintained there are six people who actually know what's going on with any member of the royal family. Now, if you get one of those people, fantastic. Get any combination of the 6, and you are on cloud 9. I was lucky enough. Yeah, I did. I know Duncan did as well. I know Paul did. So it's getting to know the people. We didn't have Google in those days. We didn't have social media. You actually had to get out and talk to people and speak to people and check things out. You
Hmm.
know, it's a great, great job, but if people think you just sit there and you fly around the world every so often and enjoy yourself, which we do, but there's a hard job at it as
We did.
well.
Yeah. Duncan, do you have any favorite memories aside from the Queen's breakfast of Charles?
Actually, that is very sweet of Charles because I was a kid completely out of my depth when I started doing the royal family. And he was a great mentor and in many ways still is. But yeah, um, besides the Queen's breakfast, I think where Charles was particularly brilliant for me, or what taught me the most, was to network with all the other royal correspondents, all the royal photographers, all the royal freelancers, because they've got a collective brain. And if you can own that brain by, looking after them, being friendly to them, not thinking you're above them, then you stand a chance of actually breaking those stories. But we're going back to days, from me personally, where you could have a lot of access to William and Harry in particular.
Hmm.
These days, they're protected by very thick brick walls.
Also, I don't think that future royal correspondents will have that access to
No,
Prince George and Princess Charlotte or
no,
Prince Louis.
no, because William and Harry have learned from it. But,
But
you know, sorry, go on,
no,
Charlie.
I was going to say, let me just explain to you just how much it's changed. And that is when I first started, there was a press office. They didn't have professional people who were involved with the press. They had courtiers who were doing the job. Now, they only knew 2 words. One was no, and the other was comment. That was it. Okay. So what you used to do is you used to wait till 6 o'clock at night if you had a belter, a really great story, and you'd ring them up and you'd say to them, I've got this story, I'm going to run this. No, no comment. And that's all you wanted from them. That's all you wanted from them. So what I'm saying is if you were slightly wrong on that story, they couldn't argue with you because they'd been given a chance to comment. But then they brought in the professional PRs. It made life a lot easier. There was only one rule I used to speak to them about it, and that's it. Lie to me once, you won't ever lie to me again. And I won't lie to you. You know, I'll lay it out for you. And if you say to me honestly, that is not true, I won't use it. And that's what we did. And I'm sure it was the same for Duncan.
It was, yeah.
As he went on. But now you've got guys in the background. I don't know any of them anymore. So I have no idea. I can't speak about how great or bad they are. But if they're worth their salt, you know, they are cultivating the journalists and actually talking to them properly in the background. Because there's some been great stories, particularly in the Sun just recently, you know, royal stories. You know, now Matt Wilkinson has got some really great contacts, because he's, in my view, he is leading the way. And I'm not just saying that because it's the Sun.
Yeah. So Duncan, what were you saying about your access to William and Harry? It's just, it doesn't exist anymore, right?
No, I mean, when I, a slightly different era from Charles there, but when I took over doing the royal job, there were 7 of us from the different newspapers and a couple from TV. That was the royal pack. It was after Princess Diana had died. It was 7 years on. The royal stories just weren't being written because the public just were, well, the press were just being held back from writing it. And all of a sudden, we got Harry wearing a Nazi outfit. We got Harry dating Chelsea Davy. We've got Harry punching a photographer in the face with his camera. And it got to the point where you just couldn't ignore. I mean, sorry, we don't want to report about you, but we're going to have to. And that was the era. That was the raw beat that I joined, if you like, when the gloves came off. And we're going to write about William's relationship with Kate. We're going to write about Harry's relationship with Chelsea and his behaviour, because the public have a right to know it. You can't hide this stuff. And that's where I sort of started my royal journey. But I will say, I'll be absolutely honest with you, I had developed a great respect for Harry and a great respect for William. I think they're both great guys. I don't know what's happened since he married Meghan, but I can tell you Harry is a really lovely, lovely guy at heart. And I really hope people don't give up on him.
That's kind of a sweet way to end. But I agree with you. Anytime I have access to the royal family, it's not through work. It's because I've networked elsewhere. But I never, I mean, I thought that through work I would get to be in front of them and meet them, and absolutely not. Anytime I'm in front of the king, anytime I'm in front of William and Catherine, it's because I put myself there. And I did not realize that access was taken away through the media. I just assumed I wasn't there yet. So it's almost comforting for me to hear that isn't realistic anymore.
Well, Charles will tell you how close a relationship the press developed, including himself, with Princess Diana. You know, that's a different era, but that's when the press really played a role in the story of the royal family. You know.
Wow, this took a turn. We got really deep here, gentlemen. I loved this therapy session, but I know that you're both raring to go and get back to your normal lives. So thank you for letting me talk about your pasts and how fun it was to work with each other and how much you admire each other. I enjoyed listening to the two of you discuss that. Charles Ray, you are sunshine, which is convenient that your last name is Ray, spelled differently. Duncan Larcombe, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Kinsey.
Both Sun veterans, both royal experts, gurus, and I'm so grateful for their time today. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. This is maybe a dynamic we should do more regularly, these two handsome faces. So agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'm Kinsey Schofield.